morning. I'm feeling much better. So we're moving on to blame, and as I mentioned in a previous video, this wouldn't independently be a great indicator of abuse. And that's because we can't prove the validity without external information, and that just means talking to the people in the case. Like, there could be very justified reasons for the blame to be blamed. Like, people could be doing just the most annoying things, and thus the blame could be legitimate and justified. We're aiming for a system where we don't have to talk to people. I know that may sound inhumane, but trust me, it is the most humane way. As soon as human interaction comes into play, the data gets skewed. No people equals clean data. We have to assume that not only is there going to be a shit ton of lies in here, but also there's people around the table that are doing things that are very justified to be blamed for. So blame's not an effective independent indicator, but very valuable information anyway. So this is the chart from my data set over the time period. Within the data set was 2,373 blame incidences identified. That's 1,627 incidences from my partner, or 69% of the total, and 747 from me, which is 31% of the total. This is a final ratio of 2.18 blames to 1. Before we go into the next section, in which I'm going to tell you how I got to the timeline data at the bottom, which you can pull out without talking to people, I'm going to give a little bit of a note on the War of the Roses. There are a lot of moves made in these cases, and they can look similar, but there are some very poignant nuances in between the moves that are made for people's safety and the ones that are made where people are playing games. People know this. It's like you're sitting back and watching people get tortured and you're just like, whatever. What? The fact that there is no even attempt to examine these behaviors is telling. That correlated with the assumptions made by authority figures, like the fact that certain opinions even enter the game, is so archaic. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable on so many levels. Some of what I experienced is so disheartening. Your job is not to give legal advice or to tell anybody what will or will not work in court. Like, know your role. Again, this is why data is important. It's going to tell us whose instincts to trust. I imagine a lot of people are going to realize that they were very wrong. I am here giving up my life and my time to do this because I refuse to sit back and watch everybody start pedaling backwards. Values are obviously being tested right now, but that doesn't mean we crumble. Smarter monsters just need more effective lines. So, as I mentioned in a previous video, I did a second level analysis of the blame category, which was basically going through and just giving everything a subject. Because that list was far too long to put into a report that anybody would read, I then grouped all the subjects, and this is basically the table that you see within this report. So the category here for incidences is where you can pull out a timeline. This is where I put all of the blame items that could be related to actual incidences in time. So the incidences is where you would pull out basically the timeline, and this is where I got the timeline for this report. So I simply just pulled out the blame incidences that were at the top of the list or had the most blames counted to them. So I'm going to go through these because there's some indicators within this data that I found interesting, and it would be subjective, so I'll tell you at the end. But definitely something to maybe take into what I would call the data hub, which will be my in my investor package, the next steps. So I gave them all cute names because I can. Obviously, machine won't do that. The first one is the accident. I returned from vacation, and a lot of my messages were gone, and I accused him of hacking into my accounts. So that was 20 blame incidences, but here's the kicker. He also blamed me for that. Tell right there. Next was the locking of shared assets. Again, it was I accusing him of clearing out a whole bunch of assets off of the property and putting it into a shared CCAN while I was at the office one day, and then parking the Kubota in front of it. That was 11 blame incidences. Next one he's blaming me of. In October that year, there was a kid that was local that needed a place to stay because he was starting school, and his mom got in touch with me, and I rented out the trailer on the property. And I told my ex that I did it, but it's like he didn't register until he was actually there, and then he lost it. At the time, I was carrying $120,000 worth of debt from our house build, and I just sold my wedding rings for gas money. My ex told everybody that I was buying drugs. Anyways, me renting the trailer saved my life, so I don't feel guilty about it at all. Having somebody on the property at that moment in time 100% saved my life. But here's the kicker. I rented the trailer, and the kid was actually only there for a month because he just lost it. But he blamed me for that 70 times. Like 70. That's like not a big number when we're talking about it in thousands, but I will tell you real time, that was a lot. It was like I was being pounded. That was insane. So I'll be really interested going down the pipe to see like levels of blame and severity levels, which will be subjective, but interesting data to come out of that. The last one on the list was the Blackura. So I had a black Acura MDX, which was pretty new. It was on a lease that was in his name, because I was carrying all the financing from the project. He wanted to switch over the car, so I was like, I don't want any more financing. That's not smart. He stole my keys in the middle of the night. I was terrified. I was terrified. I've never been so scared in my life. And because of the amount of debt that I was in, there was no way I could get financing on another vehicle. So it was literally like locked on the property while I was getting notes. And it's like, it's like you can read it, it's in the text. Oh, don't worry. I can take you for groceries now. Oh, you guess you're going to have a hard time getting your daughter to school now. I tried to get a restraining order. I was told that I made too much money to get free legal help. And of course, because I was carrying debt, like, it didn't even matter. Plus, I saw the road ahead. Like, what a fucking mess. The fact that people have been allowed to do this to each other, like use a person's capability to leave to torture them. I'm gonna get angry. Like, there's a whole industry of people that watch this happen every day and do nothing. It's kids, and you do nothing. It's like the consistencies are just, it's like my head's gonna start to explode. So here's the kicker. He took my car, which is a major move, okay? Left me stranded in the forest with somebody that I had said I was scared of so many times, like it's the biggest metric. I didn't even pull it out. How many times I begged for peace. I blamed him for that 56 times. But here's the kicker. He blamed me for taking my car 70 times. It's a consistent number, I guess. So, two things moving forward to pull out in sort of blame sentences, and this will be subjective. So, a job for the Data Hub moving forward. First thing is going to be looking for incidences wherein the number of blames is just completely irrational for the severity of the incident. Like 70 blames for renting a trailer. Like we're gonna know more about the numbers later, but that felt like that person's unhinged in that moment. The other thing we're obviously going to want to pull out is when somebody is blaming um the victim. Like, I took your car, so it's your fault. You know, and that you can actually pull out in data, right? It's not just something that you talk about anymore. It's a real thing.